some introductory information. All right, so we are waiting for people to come and join. And I would like to start with an introduction of some information we were researching. First of all, I would also like to, let me invite Stephen in. Hello, Stephen. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
There we go. Okay, it hooked up now. Okay.
It's working. Yeah.
It's working.
So, welcome, Stephen. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And I would like to briefly introduce you. Stephen was an intern here in Brazil in 2018 as an environmental engineering student. He is currently studying mathematics. And he was born in the US. I'm curious to learn more about his history. But I would also like to introduce, to share some information I was researching about the topic we are going to discuss today and how important it is for us to bring it to the table. So one data about Brazil and the US. The regulation of gay marriage in Brazil became a right in 2013. In the US, only in 2015 did the US Supreme Court approve gay marriage across the country. Mm-hmm. Before that, homosexual union was only allowed at some states. Around the world, there are currently 72 countries which criminalize private consensual same-sex sexual activity. At 11 of them, the death penalty is imposed, or at least a possibility for private consensual same-sex sexual activity. That's why this topic must be brought live. That's why we work each day to promote respect for the diversity. So please, Stephen, share with us and tell us a little bit about your story and any additional information you want to introduce.
Well, I was born in Austin, Texas, into a really accepting and open-minded kind of atmosphere and environment. Everyone there was really supporting of individual, people finding who they were and being different, and supported diversity. Although I will say it was lacking in the exposure to the homosexuals and the LGBTQ plus community and exposure during the time, because I was born in 1998, so it's still a little bit of transitionary period before 2015 was when we were allowed to get married and stuff, so that was monumental. But I was just really fortunate to be raised in that kind of community. So when I came out, I didn't really have to come out. I don't think people really, I don't think that gay people have to come out. I think it's just more of a straight stereotype that gay people have to come out. Straight people don't have to come out as straight. So sorry, that's just my little tip on that. But that's really all I have to say. Growing up.
When did you realize that you were attracted by someone from the same sex?
Well, I think I kind of always knew, once puberty started, I definitely started to notice other guys and stuff like that. And I think at first, every person of the LGBTQ plus community, well, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I was oh no, why me? Why am I like this? But that was just at first. And then as time went on, I learned to kind of accept it. And my community really helped me out there. And my church and my friends and my family all were there for me, definitely supported me all along the way in any endeavor I had. So I was really fortunate to have that.
Yeah. Who were the first people with whom you shared your region, or where you're feeling? I guess.
Definitely, my friends were first. I think, like, because I dated, dated girls all through like high school and middle school and elementary school, but like dating, just no kissing or anything like that, but like hand holding, cute stuff like that. And then I just realized one day that this wasn't for me. I didn't really like that, and I just told my friends the next day, hey guys, I think I'm bi. And that was in middle school, and I was like kind of in denial still, still tried to date girls. And then in high school I was like, nah, this isn't for me. And that's when I really realized that I was more interested in men. And then I came in the next day and told all my friends, and they were like, yeah, we knew. So it wasn't shocking for them. But so there's always been that, yeah, we knew kind of community behind me, so that was really there.
And what about your family? How did you share that with them, and how did they react?
Like I said before, I don't think a gay person has to come out. They should just be like accepted for who they are, or the people that they want to be with. And really how I came out was my mom sat me down one day. I think my boyfriend at the time, I was in a play, and my boyfriend at the time went to the play with his mom, and my mom was there. And then they were gossiping. And then my mom was like, the next day as I was going to work, my mom was like, are you gay? And I was like, yes. Now let me go to work. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I shouldn't have to. And then I had to run off to work, but it wasn't anything, serious. She was just like, she was mad because she wanted to support me. And the fact that I didn't tell her she couldn't like openly support me before. So I'm really thankful to our parents that like get mad because I didn't tell them, not because that they think I should hide it from them, something like that. Really fortunate to have open and accepting parents.
Yeah, that's very fortunate. Very fortunate. Do you have cases of other friends who faced a different reality than you, like which parents were not supportive, or don't need to mention names, of course, but
really all my it's funny, my closest friends now, well, three of us are gay and one of us is straight, so it just happened like that. None of us knew when we were first meeting up, so we each kind of have different stories, but none really of any kind of major strife or like tribulation there. One of my friends is African American, and so she obviously has her struggles there with the inequality that there is in America, with the police and police brutality against that. And I know she walks with a heavier like shoulders and is always kind of like looking to see if there's a cop there, because that's like an active concern for her, because she is a person of color. So I know that she has gone through that like everyday fear of like police, obviously. And so I think that is something that she has she's gone through that I really haven't gone through, and has a different experience there. But I mean, we still live it up and hit the town together. I mean, we love each other. And then my other friend, she was like in denial for the longest time, but she like really didn't care. And then her parents like actually were like, Catherine, oh, I said her name. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care. They told her, we think you're gay. And then she was like, no, what? No. And then she went off and actually found herself. And then she was like, yeah, I actually am. So that was.
So they helped her. They helped her.
They helped her. Yeah.
That. Oh wow! Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then so they really have had both supportive parents and maybe confused parents at the time, but they all came around. Kayla's parents definitely came around for her, and definitely, I don't think she was ever against her, but she was like, just needed a sec to understand, and like was like, oh, okay, that's who you are, and she's perfectly accepting of her now. I just think this community in Austin, Texas is really, it's not perfect, but it's definitely really, really supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. It needs work, definitely needs work, but it was a good place to be raised as a gay person,
Oh, that's lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who is gay, and I remember when he came out like about maybe 15 years ago, around that. It was pretty hard for him. Pretty hard for him. He had relationships with women, as you mentioned, and then when he decided that he would tell his family, when he
Yeah.
realized he was trapped by men, and that he would share that with his family, his dad didn't accept, and so
Mm.
they never spoke about that again. And it took like 10 years after he well married. He started to live with a man. It took 10 years for his dad to really accept and start to meet them both,
Yeah.
because otherwise he would only meet my friend instead of he
Mhm.
and his husband. So by participating of his process, for me it's very easy to relate to how
Yeah.
hard it can be depending on the family and how homophobic they are or chauvinist. And here in Brazil, I think our society is still pretty chauvinist, pretty chauvinist.
Definitely
Although
chauvinistic. Yeah.
it's more accepted nowadays,
Thank you.
I think it's pretty hard for some families. People from my generation, um, they still have a lot of bias, and so I think it's very very important, like to
Yeah.
have those conversations so that people can see how hard it is. Sometimes I have another
Hmm.
friend who was sharing
Definitely.
in Brazil. There was a process a couple of years ago here in Brazil that a psychologist was
Hmm.
was telling like very bad things about homosexuality. And I remember a friend of mine who's gay and
Yeah.
public gay. He shared a post on his Facebook talking about how before he came out, he used to cry on his
Mhm.
own at his room, and that he went to live
Oh.
abroad to have this chance of to
Yeah.
experience sexuality in another environment.
Yeah.
And only after that, he was confident enough to take this step and come out and assume it to his family and friends. So I think this is the reality for so many
Yeah.
people still. Um, and tell me,
Definitely.
you mentioned that you received support from your church. What's your
Yeah.
religion?
I'm actually a Presbyterian. I was confirmed in the church and did all the work to. I was actually a youth like minister too, so that was pretty. A youth minister. What am I saying? A youth deacon. That's who helped me become the youth deacon. So that experience was really unique. I feel like because the church was. Austin, Texas, if you don't know this, is a university town, and so there's a lot of free flowing exchange of ideas. And so this Presbyterian church is called FPC, First Presbyterian Church of Austin. It has a lot of some professors and older people who are very open-minded and accepting and really help guide people to become really who they are. And they, of course, exaggerate on like the God part. And I don't see a problem with that. They are doing good work with good people, and they accept anyone, no matter of like race, sexual orientation, anything like that. Anyone's welcome to come, worship with them. And I really admire the people there who helped guide me, and when I was like in like youth group and stuff like that, really guide me in a community. And the friends I made there were really special. And I remember specifically one time when we had to get actually confirmed into the church, we each had to give like a mini sermon in front of like the whole congregation. And I remember I was talking about specifically, the passages that deal with homosexuality. And I talked about how they can be lessons from like, we can learn from the Bible and like not take directly from these messages of hate. They're lessons because it directly conflicts with like the core ideology of the Bible, which is love your neighbor as yourself, love everyone equally, and like don't hate anyone and don't like obviously kill anybody. But I think it really drew from those principles, and I drew from those principles, and it helped me determine that those were messages of corruption that actually got into the Bible from, people who mistranslated and through eyes of hate and stuff like that, and prejudice. And so the word homosexual is actually mistranslated in the Bible. So that's actually just translated by like a group of 29, mistranslated by a group of 29, you know, old men, white men who have their limited scope and can't see through anybody else's eyes. So it's just a lesson to take from, and just to realize that the true message is love everyone like you would love yourself, you know, as your neighbor. And members of the congregation really connected with that. And I remember this one lady came up afterwards, and she said, she just gave me so much words of support and like love, and was like, that was amazing and stuff like that. And I was like, thank you so much. And since then, we've always had dialogue. When I see her, we always talk with each other and have like open conversation. And she's like a professor at like the university and stuff. So like she's really open to a conversation like this. And I really am thankful I grew up in an environment like that too, and an organization like that too. Just, it was a really good group of people. Like, I'm very fortunate.
No, for sure, because this makes it much easier, right, for you to accept yourself.
Definitely.
Really feel loved, and that's nothing wrong. Because I think in some, depending on the religion or the country you are born in, you might feel that's something wrong. And oh my God, everyone, as you said, is loved and deserves to be accepted, and that's we are all humans, and that's the level we need to connect with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Despite of color, despite of race, despite of sexual orientation, life choices, we all have dreams. We all seek for happiness.
Definitely.
We all have struggles.
Yeah, for sure.
You all go to the toilet.
All humans,
So you've already said some of the questions I had planned. Were there any struggles you have faced? Like, even though you had a supportive family and friends and all the community, were there any challenges, like perhaps at the university or any other places you've been?
I feel the university, my friends are like, I'm in a fraternity, and like all my fraternal brothers are all like, they all know I'm gay, and they're all like super fine with it, and we're all super close, and like I feel like no discrimination there. At the university, you know, it's West Texas, so there is that atmosphere of you know, a little more conservative ideals and such. And sometimes that aligns with religious belief, which fall back on that text. And of course, they believe everything the Bible says literally sometimes. And so, of course, there are those people, but I really haven't had any personal like problems with that. No one has come at me or anything like that. It's a university town too. So there is like 50%, like I would say it's a good mix, 50-50, if not more one than the other. Just a tiny bit more. So I've had really good experience there. I will say in like high school, maybe people like talking behind my back, but like never to my face, never anything like that. And they were all just like, you know, whatever, like who cares? Like, I don't care about your opinion, whatever. I live my life how I want to live it, you know? And so that was fine, but really no. And I'm like living with 3 of my like fraternity brothers next year. I mean, 2 of my fraternity brothers next year, and they're like my closest friends in college. Like one is my big and like my best friend, you know, so we're extremely close, and I've had no problems there. And everyone there is really also supportive and open and free flowing. There can be like toxic lifestyles though, you know, like some kind of like the hookup culture that like other people are into and stuff like that. So there's always kind of that, because gay people aren't like, you know, like coming back to that idea, like when I was growing up, like a lot of people didn't talk about it, you know, so like sex wasn't normalized with gay people and stuff like that. So they really don't have a culture for it. Like with straight people, it's just like, you would never like just meet the person and hook up, you know, that's insane to them. Like that's super dangerous. That's crazy. But like, it's become this problem, I feel like in Lubbock, that people do that oftentimes because they feel lonely or like unappreciated. And so they're just reaching out. So that is some problems that come with the LGBTQ plus community. But I mean, it's definitely very more accepting than I expected. I definitely would say there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to do with the stereotype, also because of like HIV and those things that
Mm-hmm.
when it was how would you say, like when the illness started, it was very common in the homosexual population. So that's probably an association people have with
Yeah.
sex,
Mm-hmm.
homosexual as well, because of this background. But I
Definitely,
mean,
I agree.
nowadays it's something that's widely spread, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and what are some things that you think people do not understand about the LGBTQ plus community in the US? And I also would like to tell us a little bit about this terminology as well, because I think one thing people sometimes get like curious, like how do you like to be called? For example, my friend says I don't like to say like homosexual. I prefer if you refer to that to say gay. It's more happy. Homosexual seems like a very serious term. So tell us
I
a little bit
I
about your opinion.
I definitely agree with him in terms of that. I think that homosexual can be like a little like technical and like I don't know, like trying to like it has that connotation behind it, which of course society has like ingrained into like all of our minds. But I don't find offense to it, and I really think it depends on the person and the member of the community, because it's a very diverse community. There are people who are, you know, attracted to women, people attracted to men, people who aren't attracted to anybody. You know, it's the entire spectrum, and I really think it's important that we pay attention to they what they feel like they need and who they are, because they're people just like us. Like we're all the same, like everyone's the same, and people need to realize that, and realize that they have to pay attention to what they say and how they say it to people, because some people don't like being called. It really bothers someone. It wouldn't bother you if you were called like what you weren't all your life, and then someone says it to you yet again, and just you snap sometimes, and it's really uncomfortable. So just identifying people and letting them be who they are. I guess it's just an absence of denial for them. So just to allow to validate them, you know what I mean? To validate us all, because we all deserve to live in this life with and love who we want to love, you know, and be who we want to be. So that's cool. I'm kind of dancing right now.
Love who you want to love.
Yeah.
I agree with this. I agree completely.
So
And
it really just depends on the
wherever you
person.
want. Yeah, yeah, I think it depends. But I remember once I went to the NAFSA annual conference. It's a conference of international education, and there was a seminar about LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
The guy who was speaking was talking about the importance of advising students on study abroad options,
Mm-hmm.
considering this, because of course, as we were talking at the beginning, there are some countries where it's not accepted, or where it's harder to be
Yeah.
a part of the LGBTQ plus community. So it must be advised to the students, like what are the conduct, the local
Mm-hmm.
conduct, and so on. And he was talking a lot about the acronym as well, which is much longer nowadays, but I think the plus covers
Yes.
it all. Can you
Yes.
share a little bit with us?
What you want me to share what it means? Like the lesbian, gay, bi, transgender.
No,
Oh, oh.
like what's your opinion about like even the acronym, and how do you relate as well with other sexual orientations or
I how do I relate to? Well, of course, I'm just friends with anybody, you know. So like anybody on that spectrum, anybody really, so is a friend of mine if they were willing to have an open dialogue and talk, you know. So I'm really comfortable with the LGBTQ plus, but I'm included in it, and to be someone like in the plus, I can't really speak for them, you know. And I do think it is getting long, so you know, there is that problem too. But like, just to be not included, I can't really speak for them and how it feels. So because it's not nice to be, it's not a nice feeling to be excluded from the thing. What if you aren't a member of any one of those LGBTQ plus, So I mean, the plus does cover it, but like, I don't know, it's just being specifically called out is nice sometimes and acknowledged. So I feel like validation again, like, which because there's been a long history of the lack of validation and the oppression of the people, So of course it's important now that we need to get it right, we have to get it right, because I mean, everyone's different, and why not, celebrate diversity and like be different together,
Yeah, I spoke on the last live with Joseph that now with the George Floyd murder and so on, the topic of diversity was very like popular inside the corporation as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the corporations are putting more effort on these discussions and on hiring a diverse team and really like bringing this topic to the awareness of their employees as well. Yeah. How did you feel that in the US? Like, are you currently working or only studying? What's your perception?
Right now, I'm not really working. I'm studying. I'm going back to school, of course, next semester, which is coming up. I'm actually leaving the 17th to go back to school. So yay! And it's gonna be, like distance and like one class in person. So there's that. But sorry, I just completely blanked. Wait, can you repeat the last part of your question?
No, about this conversation nowadays in the US after the murder of George Floyd and the topic of diversity. If you think it's like if you feel that, because I heard from friends who work in the US that the place where they are working are now like doing creating space for this conversation. Like to really promote the respect for diversity and increase awareness about the importance to be welcoming to differences and like inclusion. So if you had this feeling from your current moment, what do you observe in the US?
I feel like the dialogue has definitely been more important about diversity and importance to stress minority rights, especially from the Black community and any minority, a person of color as well. Very important right now. But I think it's like the corporations, a lot of them are going on with the trend, some corporations really do care, and some of them are just doing it for the attention. I feel like, so we're still needing to have this process where we're switching over to everyone being genuine, in their desire to open up and talk about these dialogues. So I feel like that's important to address, first of all. And then the companies that are talking about it are, I feel, doing too little. Of course, it's too little. It's just a start, but I feel like it's too little. We need to support communities and stuff like that of the minority heritage, of course, in terms of like race and stuff like that, because the system that America has operated on has been so broken for so long now and so oppressive, and it's just after Martin Luther King, a lot of things did change, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't enough. America didn't learn from its lesson. It took the lesson and said, okay, whatever, you get your rights, but it relinquished it. It didn't like willingly and freely give it up. It didn't learn from it. It just like kind of fell back into the like forethought. Now we just thought, oh, we're all equal now, but really we need to keep striving for more equality and everyone's fairness with everyone, because I mean, it's I feel like it's pretty bad here with all this protests and all these deaths, with all these Black individuals especially, and the Black Lives Matter like protests have been about. That's what they've been about, like all these people dying for no reason at all, just for being in their homes, like sleeping in their beds, walking home. Like, and these people are just seem to be hunted, and it's just crazy. And so many things, like the American prison industrial complex is like systematically oppressing and like locking up people of minority race because rich individuals want to make a profit off of their modern days like needs for corporate domination. Of course, they're literally being used as slave labor sometimes, and I think it's just crazy that these things still exist today. Like, and also I want to mention this really quick. A lot of photos in like during the 70s and the 60s, the late 60s, of course, have been like filmed and taken in black and white in textbooks in America. And a lot of times, even though that color, that like the original photo was taken in color, because they want people, my theory is at least, that they want people to think that it was so far ago that we didn't even have color yet. But really it was merely like, 80 years ago, 60 years ago that this all happened. So really, really driving on the point that we haven't come that far, but we have come far, but we need to go farther.
Oh, really. For sure. For sure. For sure. And did your experiences in Brazil with us help you enhance your perception, your and attitudes toward your now change a little bit the subject, but about your culture, your people, and how also did you, in comparison to the US, perhaps, how do you think Brazil is in terms of welcoming and accepting diversity in sexual orientation?
Everyone I really hung around was very open and very accepting, and all the people, well, at least to me, I don't know, I don't speak Portuguese, so I can't really say for the, the people on the street or anybody like talking behind my back or anything like that, but at least my experience was very positive there. I felt it was very welcoming. I do know that there are some areas, like my friends and I, like, like guy friends, like not boyfriends, but like guy friends would like hold the hands, like walking down the street, and he'd be like, "Oh, we can't do that here." And I would be like, just being silly, and he'd be being serious, because it was like a dangerous area of part of Curitiba or something, unaccepting that he felt, that he feared, like, for being singled out for being gay. So there is that, though, still very tone there too, so you have to be careful. But I really felt accepted and open and welcome there. Like, all the people were nice and kind, and everyone is really just great. So I had an excellent experience there. No personal persecution or like trauma with like being gay or anything like that.
And what about the culture itself? What are the main differences you notice between US culture and Brazilian culture?
You guys are really, really diverse. I love the diversity in like the people, and like you guys, and I love you guys' hair also. There's so many good hairstyles there. But besides that, everyone, definitely in the workplace, because I worked with, of course, through Brazilian Experience at Sonai Labs, and everyone had, I think at least every one of like the people above me had like tattoos or some kind of tattoo, something like that. Piercings were okay, I think. I can't remember, but really they were allowed to express themselves in the workplace, I felt like, as well. Even in like a research corporation, like they were allowed to do that and stuff like that. And something you can't really do in the US, because a lot of times you get judged for like having tattoos or anything like that in like the corporate world. So you can be put down for that. So that's something I noticed right off the bat. In terms of other culture, I love your guys' food. It's so good. So rich. So good. The food's great. The music's very lively, and you guys sometimes, I remember when I was in Rio, we went to somewhere in the pier by, somewhere in the lock, and then we just hung out there. And there was just all this gathering of people just singing, in the streets. And it was like so crowded and like so full, and it was just really fun there too. So to experience that, and you don't really see that like that in the US, like that kind of like, I just feel like it's more vibrant. You know what I mean? The culture is definitely more, I don't know, alive and full of like spice. I like it there. So I really admire that about Brazil. And I think you guys are really kind. Also, I've said that before, but you guys are really kind to like foreigners and stuff like that. Also, really accepting and and I don't know. Right now, the attitudes, with Donald Trump and all that in the U.S. right now have definitely like allowed for that to become the louder voice, but I feel like it is still the minority. So, that of hate towards minorities and stuff like that. So I just try to ignore those people and fight for the rights. But I feel like the attitude still like our presidents are obviously kind of very similar. They're very bit extreme, and not in the good way. So I feel like we have that in common too, a lot of times, and we both like are striving for change right now too. We're both looking for the culture in the air. I feel like that. Talking to my friend who lives in Brazil right now is very much similar. I feel like you guys are to the U.S. right now, like at least the atmosphere and the current air in terms of like wanting for change and striving for a difference, something. So to allow everyone to become equal and fair. So I felt that there. I felt like that net there, but when I was there, it just felt very, because of course it draws more attention to that. Of course, when George Floyd died and the Black Lives Matter started and all that's happened, and like this whole movement, hopefully it will last a very long time until we're all equal, is going on. So I feel like, can't speak to that now, but I felt like the air was very, I don't know, just accepting there. I felt accepted there. Like you walk down the street with no concerns or anything like that. Never had any problems. My friend did one time, but Nick, you remember?
Yeah, Brazil maybe with safety, but I guess Brazilians are quite welcoming. I'm glad you had this positive experience.
Definitely.
And I really think like culture exchange supports a lot promoting respect for diversity in all senses. I keep thinking like if every citizen in the world would have a chance to go to a country which practices a different religion and perhaps even more conservative religion, but they have the chance to understand they have common values and common goals in life. This is so beneficial, like to promote understanding and just connect people in a human level. So what's your perception? Did you have a chance to visit other countries? Did you face like different reality in terms of acceptance of your sexual orientation in another country that you had the chance to visit?
Besides Brazil, in terms
Besides
of like,
Brazil.
I've actually been to China as well and Mexico. In Mexico, I was too young to really understand what was going on, so I don't really know there. But in China, it was, of course, there's very strict rules against homosexuality, I think, in China, and they're, of course, fighting to change that right now. Hopefully, it'll pass through, but who knows what's going to happen in China, right now. But I had really no problems. No one was discriminating against me, of course. Then I was like I appeared much more straight, I guess. I don't know. So no one really questioned it or said anything like that. In my host family, one time, I definitely think they have a more attitude towards a heterosexual family, though. My host family was like, at one time I had like a necklace around my neck and it was like jade or something, and they were like, "Oh, your sister will love that as a gift." And I said, "Yeah, it's for her, definitely," when it was actually for me. So I just felt like I was just like, "Oh yeah, okay." That was like the most awkward thing that happened, of course, at the time. But they were, of course, loving and supportive as well. I really enjoyed my time there as well, but I feel like when I was I don't know, I don't want to say more gay, but like when I was most could be acknowledged for being gay in Brazil, I probably had like the best experience there, because in China you can't really be gay or anything like that. So it would be scary now to come back as like when I'm more open, at a different time to be gay in China. I think definitely, but who knows really.
Yeah, but did you feel fear at any point there?
No,
Or?
no, never really, never.
Yeah, you just you just change a little bit your behavior, adapting to the local culture as well,
Yeah, definitely.
unfortunately. Yeah, but it's a I, I think like, of
Hmm.
course the ideal scenario is having is being accepted everywhere, but it's hard to be judgmental as well with the culture itself, because they have their own history and their own challenges, right?
Definitely, definitely.
So
I agree completely. Every country is different. Every person's different. Every country is different.
every person, and even like when I think about our president, which I disapprove
Yes.
completely, although I don't want to talk about
Mm.
politics.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We need to
It's fine.
understand that they have their own personal history as well, the way they were educated, and with all the different bias
I
and
can
beliefs. So it takes
definitely,
time sometimes to change someone or to change a
definitely,
society. So
definitely.
hopefully we'll have people
Both
with
of us,
more
yes.
open mind
Yeah,
soon.
kindred spirits. Our countries are kindred spirits right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
more human, I guess.
More
Like,
human, yeah. A
yeah,
person, can a
just
person be elected, An actual human being?
yeah, yeah. And so, um, tell me about your dreams.
My
What do you
dreams
dream
right
for your life?
now. Well, right now I'm really focused on school and like I really like science and learning about that kind of stuff right now in mathematics. So I actually enjoy going into a math lecture and learning because you can apply it to like so many different principles and ideas. Excuse me. And like life and society into science. So I like seeing these patterns, and learning these theories. And so I think really my dream is probably to, like lead a research team one day, like probably get my doctorate and like lead some sort of research team one day. That would be probably my dream, which would require a lot of work. Of course, I would have to go to school for a long time. Um, I would probably have to go for like another, I don't know, 5 years. So we'll see about that. We'll see how long that takes. But now, again, with this, as we mentioned earlier before the discussion, this COVID, or maybe we mentioned in it, I'm sorry, it's been a little bit of time. This COVID has opened up for like a dialogue between like, is online school a valid place of learning? And I think yes, it is a valid place of learning. So that also opens up a lot of opportunities for me to like get a degree, like a good degree, and have it like a corporation can like hire me for, or some like can like hire me to do something for them, or like research or anything like that, and have a valid degree, even though it might be online, So like, I think that's really important too right now. And probably, I don't know. That's really it. That's all I've had planned out so far.
Only
Planned out
studies,
only
only
studies right
studies,
now. I'm trying
and
to
work.
focus and work. I definitely want to travel though. I definitely want to travel again, coming back to Brazil for sure. Um, but I want to see the world and stuff like that. So a job that can like do research in like all over the world would be really cool. That's probably the realistic dream. But shoot for the stars.
What's your ideal job?
Ideal job would probably be that go on a
But
research team and travel the world. I'm sorry.
but I mean, like, in terms of tasks, like research about mathematics or
Oh
something
yeah, yeah. Research.
specific.
Sorry, specificity. Definitely mathematics in terms of probably of the field of topology. I really want to get into the field of topology because I think it's so interesting how they can find all these weird quarks and things with shapes and the design of them. Not literal quarks, but like quarks, like differences, and in mathematical principles, and find these patterns and these rules that can help us in our everyday lives. And I think working on a team like that on any sort of topology like discussion, but would be great. But analytical work is great too. It might be grinding, but it's good because it's an important process to help us learn, especially in the machine learning field right now and AI. That's really interesting field for me too. And you can get into that as with a mathematics degree, sort of. So helping out in that field would also be interesting too, probably. But other
And
than that, go ahead.
no plans to have a family, dreams to have a family?
Probably have a family. I have no idea yet at this point yet. I'm still pretty young, so I have no idea. It would be nice though, but I'm like ready to like move around and do things. So
Just more
I don't want to
freedom for the
be locked
moment.
down yet. Yes, more freedom for the moment.
We are already locked down for quite a few months, right?
Yes,
so
I know.
when
Yes.
possible to be free, let us be fully free.
For real.
So what's the next place you would like to visit first?
I would say Brazil, but I've been there like twice, and I want to come back immediately though. I just every year to Brazil, but probably somewhere in the Netherlands, somewhere up there. I want to see what it's like up there. I mean, I've heard so much, and I've never been to like Europe, so somewhere over there or somewhere. Oh, probably Japan. Definitely Japan.
Japan.
I think, just
so
to see how.
Yeah. Asia.
Yeah, I like Asia a lot. I took Chinese a lot. I took it for 8 years, like in high school, and I took a little bit of it in college. So I really I like the language and stuff like that. And Japan, I think, is such a beautiful country. I just want to visit there to see what it's like, But definitely, it's hard to pick one place, But definitely, probably Europe. Even though I want to go to Japan, I would say somewhere in Europe, probably the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah, Japan. In Japan, I remember we had an exchange student from there. So nice to learn from the natives, and he was telling me about the gender inequality in Japan, because women have very like little access to jobs, and they mostly take care of the family. And he was very he actually works to change the scenario. He was very active. And even here in Brazil, I remember they were here teaching English.
Yeah.
And we went to a class of secretaries, and they were mostly female. And he was questioning why don't are more men here in the profession, and why do they don't aspire to be leaders in a leading position? So yeah, it's still very present. This
Definitely.
Also in Brazil, but in Japan, much more.
Definitely, because Japan has always like flip-flopped back and forth between like letting women like have equality, like be samurais at some point in like the 13th, 14th century, I think, and then like towards extreme inequality like they are right now. And I think that's really prevalent there and really important to address also right now. So that's also a reason I wouldn't go there first, because it's a little, I don't know, a little dicey on that front, but it's just a beautiful country. So. And of course, like everyone
I would love to go there as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Stephen, is there any message you would like to leave on our video, or something else that you would like to share with our audience that you feel is important in terms of our goal to promote respect for diversity?
I think right now, definitely, it's important to exaggerate the message of equality towards the LGBTQ plus community of color right now, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement right now. And it's definitely important to, safely stay active and keep fighting against like oppressive ideals and governments, stuff like that, and radicalism as well. Sorry, my mom looked in. And so I feel like that's really important on the long front, and to address that right now and keep fighting and not lose motivation, and keep your head up and don't listen to any of the haters right now, because we definitely need some change on that front. I think that's really important because as a white gay man, I think I've been afforded privileges that they haven't, and like the systematic oppression of like Black people and any person of color really. So hasn't been prevalent as prevalent in my life towards against me, you know. So I feel like it's very important to strive for equality on that front, especially with them right now, and especially with transgender people right now, because they also have been systematically oppressed even by their own community. You know, the gay community also for the longest time in the 80s did not accept transgender people, and I think it's really important to address that transgender people deserve all the same rights that anybody else deserves, you know. And so really draw attention to those aspects right now, I think are the most important and need to be addressed and discussed about.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that caught my attention, which is not common in Brazil yet, but it was like I don't know if you would call that, but agender toilets.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Asexual, like neither gender,
Asexual.
but you probably want to say like just, I don't know, whatever they trans man or a trans woman or
free to
trans
enter.
It feels like free to enter. Yeah, that's better. I feel like they would feel more comfortable like that. I think recently the law was passed that said you couldn't discriminate against, in the US, can discriminate in schools. I think you can discriminate against trans persons, a gender identity, and that any bathroom was, you know, for like any person. So like, I feel like, you know, any person of the conforming gender, obviously. So if you felt you were a woman, you would go to the woman, and if you felt you were a man, you would go to the man. You know,
gender neutral.
Gender neutral, you go to gender neutral.
Yeah.
So I feel so I feel like that was really important too. That's just passed. So things are happening, but they just keep on trucking right now. I think it's important to not get lost and caught up in COVID, you know, like COVID blues or anything like that, but keep striving and keep active, I think.
Yeah, I think somehow COVID has helped a lot in terms of reflecting how we are in the same boat. I mean, despite of COVID is there in the whole world, and it can affect any people despite of gender. Of course, we see that there are some differences in terms of access to healthcare due to this structural societal problem. But it brings us to the same level of we are humans, we are subject to the same risks, right? So in this sense, I think COVID is very positive because we sense we are part of a common humanity, and I guess also the being in lockdown allows us to have more reflection about values and what's important to us. So I'm hopeful that we will leave these phases better people.
Definitely.
In general, I really hope that.
I definitely, I think it's of all the, it's finding the good in all of this bad, you know, obviously. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. So Stephen, we are getting to the end of our live. I want to thank you once again for accepting the invitation. And it was really nice to talk about it. And as we said, just before we started, may this reach people who need to step into these shoes and become more empathetic and compassionate about diversity. That's our intention. So you can just tell us whatever you want now to wrap up.
Now, well, I had some things written down. I don't know what they were. I pretty much covered everything I had written down, though. Like I wrote it down and then I memorized it for some reason. You know. Really nothing. I'll just talk about myself then, I guess. I mean, I'm just going back. So like, I guess my future plans. I'm going back to Texas Tech, obviously, on like 3 days. So that's going to be exciting. So hopefully I can inspire some change in that community too over there, because I know there's a lot of, like I said before, there's a lot of that toxicity there and a lot of that attitudes in the gay community. But I feel like it's more self-inflicted than the system is oppressing it there too. So I really hope I can inspire anybody like watching there to really just think about the way that they want to live and not to conform to society's standards of what they feel society needs them to conform to. Don't stay in your cookie cutter little box. It's okay to branch out and everything like that. So hopefully they just stay more active, focus on themselves. Really, I feel like that's what a lot of people need to do, because like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love anybody else? And I love when he says that, because it's so true. And I feel like we all need to really embody that. Just love yourself first, and then really, I feel like that'll help people's toxicity in terms of the LGBTQ plus community that is there. But there are also lots of great people there too that are from the LGBTQ plus community there. Spencer, I remember, he also was in this program with me. He was also in this...
Amen.
Spencer was with me too, and he was in your program too, and he was one of my best LGBTQ plus friends in there, and I really think there are a lot of good people there too. So not to say that everyone's bad, but just to talk about that.
But we need also to consider maybe these people you were mentioning, maybe they didn't have the same support.
Definitely, I agree.
Self-accept themselves.
Definitely.
I think the most important message that we can have from this life, perhaps, is to sense how the way your family and your friends and your church support you have made you so comfortable. And that's not the same situation. So the same way we have the chance to step into your shoes, we need to know that's not the reality of every homosexual or LGBTQ plus.
Exactly.
They might not have the same support, so we need to step into their shoes and see they have
Absolutely
other challenges. Yeah.
I agree.
All right, Stephen. So thank you once again.
Thank
live
you.
On our Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and keep us updated of your travel plans when you come to Brazil.
I will. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed talking and opening this dialogue. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great weekend. Everyone also joined us. Bye-bye.